Hey, we're live. I'm so excited for this conversation around, love is in the stars, astrology, how we connect to our soul's cravings. And if you're out there watching, my name is Macy Matarazzo. I am a love and relationship expert and the creator of the Super Love System. And my dear friend, Dr. Elisa Robyn, did I say that? Are you Alyssa or Elisa?
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Is an astrologist, and we met, and we've actually had some really cool sessions together. And what I love is how powerful this kind of information can be in honestly relaxing and creating your life more specifically. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself, to share a little more about yourself, and then we can jump in and see where we want to go.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. This is so fun. So I have a very kind of eclectic background. I have more academic degrees than anyone needs. I had a career as a geologist, PhD in psych, academic dean for years and years. And I learned early on in life that you needed to always have like a plan B. So if something went wrong, you always had a plan B. And my plan B was I learned astrology. And since I was a child, could channel spirit guides. And so I put myself through my PhD as a professional astrologer. And I kind of held on to that through the whole academic career. And then decided that I'd rather do this, work one with people on one. And the kind of astrology I do is called evolutionary astrology. And it helps people find what their soul's mission is. Why did you come to this planet now at this time? And it's in our charts. And so I help people find, embrace, and live their soul's craving.
It's so great because I know when I had a session with you, it was really kind of cool to get some validation on my own work because they really showed up in the chart. It showed up so much, and how amazing that would have been 20 years before when I was trying to fit myself into this corporate boxes here and there. And, it eventually I got here, but how cool this can be to kind of direct some choices.
Yeah, I think it validates us that we realize there's nothing wrong with us. I came here to live a certain kind of life or have a certain style. And these are actually my superpowers or my strengths. And, my unique self that's who I came here to be. And for a lot of my clients, we'll talk maybe once a month, something like that. And it helps them address issues in life and make choices in the face of challenges from that place of knowing who they are. And that's just really powerful.
Yeah. So did you discover once you started learning this, could you start seeing in your own chart how this was really aligned for you versus?
Yeah. And I still have an astrologer that I will go meet with to look at my chart because it's hard to do your own stuff. But when I started to understand that, like things clicked, my childhood, the relationships that I've had that weren't so good that I got out of, and how I was looking for something instead of feeling for something, and where that got me trapped and where it allowed me to move forward. So and then on an ongoing basis, a lot of people look at astrology and say, oh yeah, I had my chart done, 4 years ago. It was interesting. It's something that because things change. Your chart doesn't change, but the planets move. And so if you're going through at a time of your life, an astrologer can truly help you understand what is up for you and why. and how to embrace it and grow through it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think it is easy to think, oh, I got my chart read and this is my chart and I'm good. But I remember when you and I talked about it, there's like these layers of things. And even with like coaching and getting support, I mean, we're always evolving. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm done, learning. I mean, that's certainly not the way I am, but it does seem like really impactful to be able to know what's happening in the planets and how that impacts you.
Yeah.
How does that work? How does that work? Like, what is it?
So people, when they think astrology, they think, well, I'm an Aquarius. What do you do with that? Okay. There are 10 planets. The sun is one. There are those 10 planets can be in any one of 12 signs. And an astrological chart is a circle with 12 little pie shapes in it. So you got 12, which are called houses. 10 planets that can be in, each one can be in one of 12 signs in one of 12 houses. That's your birth chart. That's a picture of where everything was when you were born. It does not change, but everything else changes and moves. So for example, when you hit around 30-ish, a little, whatever, a little younger, a little older, your Saturn in the sky is going to have gone all the way around your chart and be back in the position, in your birth position. It's called a Saturn return.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, you have that. You question the structure of life. You question the choices you've made. You wonder, why is this the life that I really wanted? Something happens around 40 that manifests kind of a midlife crisis. So Uranus square Uranus. There are things that happen at different ages, and we're being asked to re-examine our life. So, and some of those move very, very slowly. Pluto takes 250 years to go to orb, so it will never have a Pluto return. But you could have a Pluto, for example, Pluto that sits on top of Saturn in your chart, for example, and that could last for 7 years.
And then what would that do? Like, because it's each planet has sort of a quality, right?
So each planet in the sky has quality. Pluto is creative destruction. It is sort of, imagine you've gone for a walk in the woods at night and you really wanted change, and it's lightning and it's thundering and there's a woman sort of sitting in a dark spot who calls to you and says, I am who you wanted. I'm who you call. You wanted transformation, and you're suddenly terrified. But here it is. Here's Pluto, right? And you ask for transformation, you're going to get it. That's the energy.
What would that be like? I mean, is that like something as big as like, oh, I had, a car accident and then my whole like worldview changed, or I lost a job?
Right. So it depends. So Pluto in the sky, let's say it's on top of your moon. Your whole view of love and your emotional self and the relationships you've had, and right, or if it's on top of Venus, who am I choosing to have in my life and why am I doing that? So it depends where it aspects your chart. And yeah,
okay, let's talk about that, because it is, love is in the stars. So, how can we use astrology for our love life?
Sure.
Like, what is it telling us?
So you can do a few different things. The thing about astrology is to remember you always have free choice. So I have met people where our charts looked amazing together and we couldn't stand each other. So you have free choice, right? So you have a chart and this person you love has a chart. You can overlay them and see how they match. And that will give you information about the challenges, the ways you'll communicate, the ways you'll connect, what that person craves. And is that something that works for you? Will you have shared dreams? You also can run a program where you put the two charts together and out pops like a third chart. And that chart is a chart of the personality of the relationship itself.
Right.
Right. So those kind of charts, but again, remember, I've had charts where it was like, this is a perfect chart. And we did not click.
Right. So it's information. It's not necessarily, like you said, you have free choice.
You have free will, right? It's
Are there like spaces where, like, for finding love, are there better planetary lineups for calling in that?
Yeah, actually, this month is actually pretty good for a lot of people because of the way the planets are lining up, where we're seeing romance deepen in some, depending on where it is in your chart. You may choose out of a relationship that hasn't been working, but for most people, if they're investing in a relationship, it should deepen. It could be some great romance this month just because of where the stars are set up. I do monthly soulscapes, is what I call them on my website.
Cool.
And when I wrote them, they're astrology, but they're channeled a little bit. Almost all of them had like a little bit of romance in there, which I thought was kind of fun.
I love that. So check out the website.
Yeah. If you go to my website, there's free soulscapes for each sign. There's also an oracle that I created, I don't know, 30 years ago that's still up that you can click on, ask the oracle a question, and an answer comes up. Yeah. So it's just some free stuff on my chart.
That is so great. That really makes you want to like check that out every month.
My chart, yeah, my website, and then I have my blog, on there too, and links to my radio show, which is also a TV show. So the YouTubes of that. So there's a bunch of stuff on my website.
Well, what do people need to know about astrology that they don't know, or are there any misconceptions about it?
Sure. So the first thing is it's more than just your sun sign. Everybody knows their sun sign. And there's some interesting statistic where most people will say, yeah, I don't believe in astrology, but 80% of Americans know their sun sign, right? They just do. But astrology is much more than that. Your chart has all these other planets in it. It isn't destiny. Here's a way to think of it. Imagine before you're born, you have a chance to set a plan for yourself. Here's what my soul is going to the planet to do. Okay? And you get here and you forgot. And you got to have some reminders. It's in your chart.
Yeah.
Often we'll have something about our early life that kind of reminds us of what we came here to do. But you can find it in your chart. And then the rest of the sort of changes through the seasons and as the planets move are sort of opportunities. They're offerings to you of here's another opportunity to grow this part of you.
I love that. And I really love that it's really giving you a space to really play in. It's like, okay, if you know, and you're kind of like with me, my chart shows that I'm supposed to be a love coach. I mean,
it absolutely did. It was so funny.
And so when you have that, because some people I know, I had so many years of asking, what am I supposed to be doing? And I knew it had to be close to this, but I would have never picked this until I had this experience. And how that then, living in your soul's craving, like satisfying your soul's craving, it seems like it would just make everything better.
I think the world still happens, right? Life still happens. But the way you approach it and the way you view it, and this is an interesting story. I hope we have a little bit of time.
Yeah,
because people will ask me, well, is this the person? They don't look like my person. So there's this old story. I don't know if it's a Yiddish story. I don't know where it is, but there's an old story about this beautiful young woman. A matchmaker comes to her and says, I have found the perfect guy for you. And she's beautiful. She's lovely and good-hearted and many other things. And it easily could be two guys or two women or two whatever. And right, but just the story's a man and a woman. And she She goes in to meet this young man, and he's a hunchback. He has a hunchback. And she, like, excuse me, she goes back out to the matchmaker and says, "What are you thinking? He's got a hunchback." And she said, can you close your eyes and talk to him? Can you just listen? So she goes back in and she says, "This is weird. I'm just going to close my eyes while we talk." He goes, "Great." And she hears the tenor of his voice, like, resonates with her. And the way he talks and his words and just everything about him. And she opens her eyes and they talk, and she doesn't see the hump. And at the very end, he says to her, "Look, I know you're beautiful, and I know that many men would love to be with you, and I know I have a hunchback, but I'm going to tell you a story. Right before that moment when we're born and our spirits are about to enter bodies, I was shown you would be my mate. And I was told that you would have a hunchback." And I said, no. They said, "Well, there's lessons she'll learn." And I said, "No woman should go through life with a hunchback. Give me the hunchback. She will learn those lessons by loving me." That story to me is so powerful. Wow. That when you listen close your eyes, if you listen with your heart, if you listen with your soul, as opposed to, that person doesn't look like what I'm used to seeing in my life. Too whatever, right? Or not enough. And astrology then helps us listen to our soul, as opposed to who I thought I was supposed to be with.
Yeah, and I imagine that a lot of times it's something that when you start hearing your own chart or learning more about your chart, that it's more like a remembrance. It's like,
yeah. You kind of had that experience, I think. You were like, that makes sense. Like, look at my childhood. Look at my past. Oh my gosh. Of course. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you see people, really using when you're doing regular readings and you're layering it on what's actually present? How many ways do you see people using this?
Well, it's funny. You have the people who don't like the message, right? That's not what I want to hear. Okay. Though I have to say, I have a training as a psychologist, and so I'm also I know how to put things in a framework that people can hear and understand and do something with it. For most people, though, there's a sense of, I need to think about that, right? There's a sense of, And for many people, there's comfort, right? Like, yes, this is a rough time. Saturn return is a challenge, but it's going to go away, right? And here's what you can do to get through it in a powerful, positive way. It won't be like this forever. So people also find comfort in that.
Right. Comfort in the difficult times or when things feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Because it's so funny when you talked about the Saturn return, immediately I remember in my late 20s.
That's right.
In my late 20s, having sort of crisis moment. And I think I must have talked to a healer or astrologist or something who said, "Oh, well, that makes sense. You're in your Saturn return. That's when you question a lot of these things." And that was very comforting.
And I think also, there's things that happen with teenagers at certain points that make us realize that astrology recognizes human development, right? That through your entire life, it's a developmental experience. It's a process. Maybe we're never quite done, we're always, we're good, but we're never done, which I find comforting as I get older. Like, no, you still got lots to do. It's good. There's still adventures. There's still stuff. There's still choice. And that is comforting, I think, as we age. And it's comforting when we're looking at a partner who's going through a hard time, and we can realize it's not us. But we can learn the best way to support them through astrology.
Yeah, I love that. And I would think that you could use this in other areas. Do businesses have astrology? I mean,
So if you know the day you started your business, we can run a chart for that. I've worked with
interesting.
people who were launching businesses, and we look at their chart to figure out branding. Like, how would
Mhm.
you brand your business based on your chart? And again, why? Because you don't want to brand something that fits in with the herd. You want to shine a light on your uniqueness, and your chart can do that. So I've done that for people. Um, a lot of people in life transition, especially now, are saying, how do I reinvent myself? And so I have a process I'll take them through, not just a regular reading, but assignments that I'll give them based on their chart. To how do you do that? How do you? I call it living on the loose. That you're kind of flowing with it and making it up, and you're as you go, and you're being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things. There are some astrologers. I'm not good at this. There are some astrologers who will say, no, this location is not good for you. You should go wherever.
Right.
Lots of ways you can use it.
And I imagine that if that's coming up, that there is a sense that that person has that
Yes.
maybe they are itching to go somewhere else anyway, once
Mm-hmm.
it's said, because that's, I mean, I think we have that knowingness. It's just really nice to see more and get some details about how things work together and what's going to help us thrive and really celebrating. I mean, I think it's a really great way to celebrate ourselves too.
Mm-hmm. I, I think you're right. And I think you said it earlier on. Um, this recognition that you're okay. This is this is what I came here to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love because you earlier you said something about the intuition that came through with some of your monthly readings. Um, tell me about that. I mean, it sounds like you have a special gift with
Yeah.
it. You're connected and you understand the actual sciency part of it. I guess it's called science.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and combined with the intuition.
Yeah. I have sort of heard spirits since I was a
Mhm.
child. And I did not grow up in a family that was necessarily cool, so I don't remember talking about it. But definitely, once I'm reading for somebody, that often somebody who's passed will come through,
Mhm.
or a spirit guide will come through and talk to me. Um, and and sometimes those guides are people who from their lineage. Women often, because women carry lineage, we often have people from our lineage who maybe we never even knew. They're 4 generations or 5 generations ago. We never met this person or even further. But sometimes that the lineage will come through and talk about healing a lineage wound. Um, changing so that you don't have to keep doing that thing that has wounded your entire lineage. You have a way of healing that. So
Wow.
I can't always guarantee it. So I don't say to people, yeah, I just give spirit guide readings, because it doesn't always happen. But once I'm really in touch with a person, if they're open to it, almost always I'll get
Yeah.
that energy.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that we want to just share that would help people to know something more about all this?
I think when it comes to love, you don't. So when I was dating,
Mhm.
I clearly knew people's charts. I didn't choose them based on I didn't choose a relationship based on the chart, but I
Mhm.
knew pretty quickly what that person would be into, and who where we would resonate and where we would clash. So I never made choices based on the chart. There are some charts where you just have to recognize, here's who this person is. Can you deal with it? Um, if you have somebody who has 5 planets in Scorpio, they're a very sexual, passionate being. They just are. right? You're not going to change that. If you have somebody with 5 planets in Taurus, they're a very sensual, take your time, slow kind. So there's just things that you can learn about that person. And if one of those you find fascinating, that's great. So I think it helps. But the biggest one for me is you still have free choice. It's still up to you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've talked about how, there are going to be times when love really is in the air, which it sounds like we're in one. Yay.
Yeah.
And the other piece is how people could come to you with new relationships and say, hey, what do you see here? That sounds like a good idea. And certainly, are you questioning what you're wanting to do in the world? And what would be possible if you got a little input from
Right.
a reading?
Right. Yeah. That's lovely wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's a million ways. I love that you shared that businesses can have that too. And, you and I have talked multiple times about how, this is not just a one-off thing, that this is about your personal development and people who resonate with it and like it. This can be a really powerful tool.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
the same,
everyone check it out.
Just like your oh my God, dead lunch lady
reading
recipe readings.
Lady reading.
That could be a powerful tool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's there's so many things out there, and I have signed up for a lot of different ways that I feel supported and trying different tools. I'm sure you have too. I mean, there's just so many things, and what's going to make your life fun and great, and just play with it.
That's right. Absolutely.
So we put your website is here.
Awesome.
Anyone who's listening, reach out. I'm sure they can contact you there.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you're on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. And I have my website. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and a wealth of resources. So this is a great way to kind of start out. Next week, we're doing our 5-day dating camp. So if you haven't signed up for that, go to lovevibe.club and sign up so that you can be part of that. And hopefully we can do more of these because it's kind of fun to see what's happening.
It'd be fun. If there's a big transit going on, we can talk about it.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on. This was great.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.